A book review of Trent Horn's Why We're Catholic. Recently, I finished reading Gavin Ortlund's What It Means to Be Protestant, a review which is up on this channel. And while I respect Ortlund as an apologist, I found the book itself to be riddled with logical fallacies and historical inaccuracies. To put it bluntly, it was not a compelling work. But the entire time I was reading Ortlund's work, I kept wondering, was Trent Horn's written appeal for Catholicism just as bad? As, while reading Ortlund's book, I couldn't help but notice how it almost felt like an indirect, though perhaps unintentional, response to Trent Horn's Why We're Catholic. Whether Ortlund consciously intended to contrast his Protestant perspective with Horn's Catholic approach or not is not the point. I thought it was worthwhile to compare the two. Thus, now having read both, and having done so back to back, I want to offer this review of Trent Horn's book for consideration. At their core, these books differ drastically in tone, structure, and method. Why We're Catholic is everything what it means to be Protestant is not. Methodical, well organized, carefully reasoned, and free of glaring logical errors. Horn structures his work in a way that gently introduces the reader to Catholic beliefs without an immediate apologetic confrontation. He starts with foundational ideas that are broadly accepted across Christian traditions, presenting them in a way that is accessible for both believers and skeptics alike. It is only around the midpoint of the book, roughly chapter 10, that apologetics takes center stage. Even then, the arguments remain within the realm of general Christian apologetics, making the book a welcoming introduction for Protestants who may not be ready for direct Catholic polemics. It isn't until around chapter 17 that distinctly Catholic doctrines are presented in earnest. This measured approach is, in my view, a strategic and effective way to introduce Catholic thought without overwhelming or alienating the reader. Think of it as a gentle nudge rather than a shove. By contrast, Ortlund's book is front loaded with his argument. He gets to his main point well before the halfway mark, Gavin that is, which, while efficient, makes the book feel more like a Protestant polemic than a balanced discussion. Gavin's arguments, unfortunately, rely heavily on historical anachronisms, subjective interpretations, and fallacious reasoning. While he does make some valid points, they are often buried under layers of Protestant assumptions and presuppositions that are not critically examined or logically justified within Gavin's book. That being said, Horn's Why We're Catholic is not without its flaws, but its strengths far outweigh its weaknesses. One of the book's most impressive aspects is its commitment to factual accuracy. I would estimate that at least 90% of Horn's claims within the book are verifiably true. This is remarkable for a popular level apologetics book, as many such works struggle to maintain even a 60% threshold of historical and theological accuracy, by my estimation. That said, I did identify a few fallacies in Horn's work. By my count, there were 4 notable logical missteps. A leap in logic toward the end of the book, where an argument transitions too abruptly from general Christian belief to specific Catholic doctrine without sufficient justification. A problematic presupposition in the middle of the book, particularly concerning the nature of sin. Horn assumes that all people share a uniform acceptance that they sin, which is not necessarily the case. Similar to the God-shaped hole argument some Protestants make, there are some, though not many, slight overstatements and overgeneralizations, where certain claims could have been more cautiously qualified throughout the book. And there is especially present in the last 3 chapters a mild case of hasty generalization, though not egregious enough to undermine the book's overall argument. Aside from these, the book is exceptionally careful in its reasoning, unlike Ortlund's work, which frequently commits errors in its historical interpretation of facts and data, Horn's book remains largely free from anachronisms. However, I did notice that some of the personal anecdotes he shares raises questions about their veracity, as their convenience in aiding the overall narrative was striking. While anecdotal evidence can be a valuable rhetorical tool, it is important to recognize that these stories, whether factual or fiction, do not significantly affect the book's overall argument. It is like spice to a meal. A little goes a long way. One of the book's greatest strengths is its readability. Horn writes in a clear, engaging style that is neither condescending nor unnecessarily complex. This is where he surpasses many other apologists, including Jimmy Akin, whose works can sometimes come across as simplistic and underwhelming. Horn, on the other hand, speaks directly to the average reader, making his book a fantastic resource for those new to Catholicism. The structure of the book is also well thought out. It starts with basic concepts, gradually increasing in complexity. By the time the reader reaches the later chapters, they have been significantly prepared to engage with more challenging theological topics. This progressive approach makes the book an effective tool for evangelization, particularly for non Catholics who may be skeptical or hesitant to engage with Catholic teaching, like climbing a gentle, steadily rising hill rather than scaling a steep mountain. Additionally, Why We're Catholic avoids unnecessary polemics, which is a refreshing change from many apologetics books. Horn does not attack other Christian traditions, but instead focuses on presenting a positive case for Catholic beliefs. This makes the book far more appealing to a broad audience, including Protestants who may be curious about Catholicism but wary of confrontational rhetoric. This approach was a breath of fresh air. One interesting observation is the contrast between the Trent Horn who wrote this book back in 2017 and the Trent Horn of when I wrote this review in 2025. The version of Horn we encounter in Why We're Catholic is a younger, more relatable, and less jaded apologist. His approach in this book is measured, charitable, and inviting. At the end of the day, Why We're Catholic is not a scholarly work. It is an apologetics book aimed at a popular audience, and it succeeds brilliantly in that regard. If you are looking for a dense academic treatment of Catholic theology, this is not the book for you. However, if you or someone you know wants an approachable and well reasoned introduction to Catholic beliefs, then this book is an excellent choice. I would rate Why We're Catholic a solid 4 out of 5 stars. It is superior to most of its contemporary rivals in apologetics literature, including other Catholic apologetics books such as those by Jimmy Akin, largely due to its readability and accessibility. It also surpasses introductory works like those of the Oxford Very Short Introduction series, as it provides a more compelling and engaging exploration of Catholicism. This is a gem in a market crowded with shiny stones. For those who are not converting but simply want to understand Catholic beliefs without committing to reading the entire catechism, this book is an invaluable resource. It presents Catholicism in a way that is informative, respectful, and easy to digest. It's a light snack that leaves you satisfied. Trent Horn's Why We're Catholic is a standout in the field of apologetics. While not without its flaws, it is a well reasoned, well structured, and highly readable book that effectively communicates the Catholic faith. I highly recommend it to anyone seeking to understand Catholicism, whether they are Catholic, Protestant, or simply curious. And with that, I conclude this review. Thank you and good night.